Hello girls, it's so nice to see you.
Hi.
Since I could catch you two together, I want to ask you a couple questions. Can we get to know you briefly?
Sure, so my name is Claire. I'm going to be starting my third year at HKUST in the School of Business and Management, and I'm majoring in marketing. So I grew up in the US, but I'm ethnically half French, half Chinese.
And I'm Maria. I'm also about to start year 3. I'm majoring in chemistry, School of Science, and I'm from this small Eastern European country called Latvia, but I'm ethnically and culturally Russian.
Amazing, so your flatmate is in our Jockey Club Hall. How is life there?
Life is honestly fantastic. It's apartment style, so it's a little bit different from the hall vibes, I would say. And it's located in Chungkwano, which is a beautiful area.
Amazing neighborhood.
We really love it. There's a ton of stuff to do, and it's a little bit closer to the city center.
And what are the advantages of living outside of campus?
So I think a big advantage for me personally, because I work several part-time jobs around the city, it's really conveniently located because it's really close to the MTR. Also, there's a bunch of malls and food places, so I really love the environment, and it's really easy to go out and shop.
And how did you guys meet in the first place?
I think we ran into each other in our hall. We both lived in Hall 5 in our first year. And apparently, she was very intimidated by me.
She just walked past me with this death stare on her face, and I was so scared of her. But then we got to know each other a bit better, and we really bonded.
What is your favorite local food then?
I really like the beef noodles. Hong Kong beef noodles are great. We also really like this place in Bangkok that sells pineapple buns.
Yes.
We don't get them very often.
The best bo lo yao ever. Go to Samwar in Bangkok.
And since we're talking about some cultural things, Maria, can you tell us something interesting about Latvia? I've never been there, but I really want to go.
So it is fairly small, kind of a small population, but there's a lot of greenery, and we have very, very beautiful architecture. A lot of our buildings are actually, they're like structures that you can't actually tear down because they've been there for a long time, so that you need like governmental permission and everything. But it's very, very beautiful. Highly recommend. The best Baltic country, honestly.
And Claire, how is life in the US compared to Hong Kong? What are some differences and similarities?
So it's quite different, I would say. Hong Kong is definitely very fast-paced. I'm from LA, which is also a big city, but Hong Kong is a lot more dense, so you feel the busyness a lot more, I feel like. But something that surprised me is it's quite diverse. I thought that coming from the US, nothing would be more diverse than that, but there's such a unique blend of cultures here, and I really love that.
And why did you guys choose to study in Hong Kong?
I always wanted to go to Asia. I kind of wanted to go somewhere completely different from where I grew up, because I had gone to school in the same school for like 12 years, so I really wanted a big change, and Hong Kong seemed like the best place to start, honestly.
And for me, it's because my mother's side of the family is originally from here, so I've been here a couple times, absolutely loved it every single time. I knew I wanted to study here, and also as a business student, it's a really great place to do business and learn more about how interconnected our world is.
How did you guys prepare yourself before coming to Hong Kong? What was that preparation process like?
So I have another very close friend who lives in Hong Kong. So like a year before I came to USD, I had gone to Hong Kong for a month. So I started to get a little bit familiar with the area in general, the language, the culture. So I try to do a lot of like my own research. So I would have like as few cultural shocks as possible, so the transition would be much smoother.
I think for me, a big advantage is that I already speak Cantonese. So I tried to talk even more with my mom and ask her about her experiences growing up here, and trying to have a better insight as to what people here are like and what to expect.
And be honest, how many suitcases of clothes did you guys bring here?
3, and then one time I brought like a 4th one.
Oh wow.
Probably same, and we keep buying clothes, so.
Amazing, same, I definitely feel you. So girls, what is the best part of living in Hong Kong?
I really love the city, It's really easy to get around, and there's a lot of different things to see and do. It only takes like less than 20 minutes to go from the middle of the urban jungle to go to a hiking trail, for example, and I really love that.
Yeah, I would say it's very diverse. It's nothing like you would expect. Like you think it's just a city, but it's not. It has so much, you know, like aside from like a city landscape and the food and like all the mixture of cultures. I think that's the most fantastic thing.
And why HKUST specifically?
It offers so many different opportunities, and if you're really willing to put yourself out there, people will accept you and they'll try to help you as best as they can. The community is very supportive.
Couldn't have said it better.
And if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to yourselves when you were getting ready to start your university journey?
I think just slow down and take in everything that you can. There's always time to do everything, and you don't always have to be hustling, you know?
I think a big one would be don't compare yourself to others. It sounds cliche, but at the end of the day, you have your own goals in mind. You know yourself best. It doesn't matter if other people look like they know what they're doing. They probably don't. Just focus on being you.
And what is the best part of being a university student in your opinion?
I think the best part is the independence and this feeling of freedom. You're adulting, but without too much responsibility for the moment. So you can really have fun, say yes to spontaneous plans, just try and have a good work-life balance. Don't always be studying. Make some time for yourself and to go out and meet other people.
Right. Now I want to ask some academics-related questions. Claire, what made you choose business?
So I have a bit of a more unconventional path, I think, than other business students who kind of already had an interest in business before starting uni. For me, I didn't know at all what I wanted to study, so I decided that business would be a more general thing that I could study, and then further along the line really hone in what I like. And that's exactly what happened. I found an interest in marketing, and I really liked how it can bring out my creative side. So yeah, that's basically why I chose business.
What do you think about our business school? What do you like about SPM?
I think that all the professors are very committed to delivering a good quality education, and I think our community, like I mentioned earlier, everyone who studies at UST in general and also the business school, they're really motivated and driven individuals, and I think that really pushes me to work harder and become a better student.
Okay, now the negatives. What would be one thing that you would want to change about SPM?
So I think a lot of people would agree with me that it's quite competitive, and especially for me, having studied in the US, I was not used to the level of competition academically that's in Asia. But I think that at times this could get a little bit toxic, but like I said before, you can't compare yourself to other people, and you have to use this as a way to push yourself, not overwhelm yourself.
Okay, now we turn to Maria. Maria, why did you choose science?
I've always been interested in science as a little kid. I was that kid with like the random pop-out science books on like planets and dinosaurs and honestly all kinds of areas. So I was always very interested in science, and specifically in like IE. So like the last 2 years of high school, I really got into chemistry. I really liked that it was quite logical, like it made sense, you know. And so I decided to keep pursuing it.
And you two seem to be doing a lot. How do you manage your time? Any time management tips in university?
So I personally thrive when I'm really busy. So the way I'm productive is if I fill up my schedule, then I'll get things done because I'll know I have something else to do after. But I think a good key is to make sure that you still have time for yourself. You have time where you're just dedicating to taking breaks and self-care, otherwise you'll burn out.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little bit in need of tips. but
Same situation, no worries. We'll probably listen to Claire.
yeah, thanks. Drop comments.
Now we're close to HKUST, and we'll stop here, and then I'll see you guys later in the academic concourse.
See you.
I'm ready. So HKUST has a reputation that is known as the University of Stress and Tension. How often do you feel stressed in school and how do you cope with it?
So the course load is definitely very demanding. I think in all of the schools, it's quite, not gonna lie, the courses are quite difficult, but it's important to keep a good balance. And for example, joining a sports team is really good for that. Finding other things to do when you're not studying, and that really helps with your mental health, I think.
Great. What would be an advice you would like to give to a fellow student who's dealing with high levels of anxiety when it comes to school? And again, I know you mentioned sports team, but like, what else?
I honestly think you should just take maybe like 15 minutes a day just to sit down and like not think about anything. Just not think about school, not think about work, and just for yourself, so you can, you know, center and then figure out like, you know, what you need to get done perhaps, but you know, just give yourself a break, a genuine break.
Exactly. What was one thing that you guys each struggled the most during university and how did you overcome it?
I think something that I struggled with was finding good study habits, because at first, especially in my first year, I wasn't quite used to this way of learning. There's a lot of freedom in uni, and you don't have to turn in homework every day like you do in high school. So I think figuring out a good study schedule was something I struggled with, but once I discovered the best way for me to study, which I like to print out the PowerPoints before I go to class and then annotate it as the professor is talking. Once you find little hacks like that, it makes your life a lot easier.
And what is the best part of studying in HKUST? From an academic perspective, let's say.
I think it's that you have, I guess, a lot of flexibility in how you want to study, you know, especially like, I recommend you attend all of your lectures, you know, but occasionally, like, if you're not feeling up to it, or like perhaps you feel like you might just do better at home today, you can do it, and lectures are recorded, you know, so I feel like in that terms there's a lot of freedom that you can structure your academics around what fits you the best. And I honestly think that's great.
And I know that you guys live off campus, so how often do you guys visit campus during the summer?
During the summer, I suppose not as many times, to visit friends, definitely in case we needed to get something done on campus. But I would say definitely a couple of times a month, and often we miss campus a lot, so we try to come more often.
And during a normal semester, how early do you have to wake up to catch, let's say, a 9 a.m. class on campus?
So I personally arranged my schedule so I wouldn't have any 9 a.m. so I avoided that problem altogether. But the shuttles come at every half an hour, I think, in the morning.
Maybe 15 minutes. 15
minutes to half an hour. There's a pretty regular schedule. So honestly, if you're low maintenance, you can just wake up 5 minutes before and then run downstairs and then get breakfast when you arrive on campus. Or if you're high maintenance like this girl, you might need a little bit more time.
Excellent. And I want to ask, what do you usually do when you visit the campus during the summer?
Mainly, definitely meet friends. Not right now, social distancing. But generally speaking, we meet with friends, have lunch, you know, walk around. Once again, the views.
It's a good place to work as well and study.
So let me ask some Hong Kong related questions. Hiking or clubbing?
Clubbing and then hiking in the morning to get over your hangover.
Extreme sport.
What is your favorite thing to do in Hong Kong when you are taking a break from your studies?
I think going to the beach is my favorite thing to do. There's so many nice beaches, very underrated. There's actually a really nice one right next to campus.
Well, and how did HKUST help you become the person you are today?
I think being surrounded by so many people who are very driven, you know, they really want to get things done, they want to succeed in the world. I think it drives me to do better, to challenge myself, maybe try out things that I never thought I would honestly try out. And it makes me believe like I can do it.
That is great to hear. To what extent did HKUST reach your expectations?
That's a difficult question. I think it reached my expectations in the sense that I knew it was, for business school in particular, I knew it was very competitive, and I would be surrounded by really hardworking people. But I think it surpassed my expectations because socially I wasn't too sure how I was going to adapt. But I met a lot of really amazing people, and yeah, I think that really has made my experience all the better.
Some people tend to put too much emphasis on grades. What are your opinions on this matter, and what would you want to say them?
I definitely think that it's a little bit of a problem here in the sense that, I mean, of course, grades are important, you know, and especially if you're on a scholarship or something like that, but you have to understand at the end of the day, it's not your whole worth. It's not in a grade, you know, it's about you and what you want to do and like the opportunities that you seek, because someone with like a lower GPA could be doing much more out there in the world, you know, because in order to maintain a very high GPA, of course, you might limit yourselves and other things unless you're just pure genius. So I would say that definitely your grade is not the definition of you or your success.
And I think also if you have the opportunity to work on the side and have an idea of what things are like in the real world, that it's definitely gonna enrich your experience so much more than just studying all the time if you can actually put your skills into practice.
And for the past semester and for the upcoming semester as well, we're going to be experiencing one more online semester. How did you adapt to the online learning system of HKUST?
I feel like I adapted pretty well. I would say science classes generally, especially like more foundational classes, in a way there's not as big of a focus on like interaction and discussion. So because of that, I feel like it was a little bit easier to some extent. But I mean, of course, I would still prefer to, you know, go to real lectures. But honestly, I think UST did a very good job. Like they adapted really well, and the professors are really well trained to work with Zoom and like all the interactive features on Zoom. So a couple of my classes became even more interactive than they used to be.
Well, how do you think we can make the most of online semesters? Like, what kind of tips would you like to give to especially our incoming students?
Try and attend all of your lectures. That's the big one. It's easy to just say, oh, I'll watch the class recording later. But you know you're not going to watch it later
that
until
never
maybe
happens.
like 2 days before the midterm, and you're like, I have to watch everything on 2.0 speed. So I think definitely attending the lectures live, and then also so you can help your professor out. Like professor doesn't want to just teach to a blank screen. Turn your camera on, try and interact, participate, all of that.
And from 1 to 10, how would you rate your HKUST experience so far?
Solid 8. An even 8, I would say.
Yeah, I think 8 is pretty fair.
And lastly, in what ways does HKUST inspire you?
I would say the people in HKUST really inspire me, because everyone's doing so many great things, and even though, you know, we're in the middle of like a pandemic, still there's so much research going on, and the university is constantly updating us on like relevant research. You know, we've done a lot of our university has done a lot of breakthroughs in terms, you know, to fight COVID. So that's really great. I think that's very inspiring to me that we're still able to keep going, helping the community, and I mean in this case, really the global community. I just think that's incredible.
Great. Thank you so much for sparing your time for us, guys, and we'll hope to see you later on campus.
See you around. Thank you.
Bye-bye.